What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we're going to be comparing the new Pixel 7a to the Pixel 7 Pro. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why would we do that? Doesn't it make more sense to compare the Pixel 7a to the regular Pixel 7? And to that, I say, yeah, kind of, but the Pixel 7a is new, for one, and those two phones are just so similar. It honestly doesn't really matter which one you get. Flip a coin. Or better yet, just grab a gently used, renewed Pixel 7 from Amazon. They're $399 right now, which is $100 cheaper than the brand new Pixel 7a. And then you could say you got the better device for less money, even though the difference is marginal at best. The difference between the Pixel 7a and the Pixel 7 Pro, though, both in price and in features and specs, is much more significant. So in this video, I'm going to go over what you end up getting when you spend potentially a few $100s more on the Pixel 7 Pro, and hopefully this helps you decide which Pixel device is perfect for you. So to start, yes, the Pixel 7 Pro is technically a lot more expensive than the Pixel 7a, but it too has suffered from some serious depreciation since it's now nearly 7 months old. The full retail price of the new Pixel 7a is $499, and aside from a $50 pre-order discount, you won't see a lower price on this for at least another month or two. The full retail price of the Pixel 7 Pro is $899. But again, if you jump on over to Amazon or any other third-party retailer, you can opt for a used or renewed Pixel 7 Pro for a pretty steep discount. In this case, for just $70 or $80 more, yeah, get the Pixel 7 Pro. That's an easy decision. And I'll leave links to these cheaper Pixels down below in the video description if you want to do some comparison shopping yourself. But if you're stuck paying the full retail price for either of these phones, that $400 gap is pretty significant. Now, physically, the Pixel 7a and the Pixel 7 Pro are quite different, and it's the first of many reasons why I think this is a more interesting comparison. At 6.1 inches, the Pixel 7a is small by today's standards. The 6.7-inch Pixel 7 Pro is more in line with a big screen flagship, and side by side, you can see that difference in screen real estate is relatively significant. The Pixel 7 Pro is taller, wider, and it has a greater screen-to-body ratio thanks to its much slimmer bezels and slightly tapered front glass. The curve there is subtle, though. I know some people have sworn off curved displays, but all this does is just make the Pixel 7 Pro feel slimmer in the hand and give you that slightly more modern-looking screen with relatively little border surrounding it. And in the hand, I do think the size difference is also something to consider. Like I said, the Pixel 7a is arguably compact, and for some people, that's a plus. The Pixel 7 Pro is big, but I also know most everyone is used to big phones now and quite like that. So I think this is more of a personal preference thing. Around back, like most mid-tier phones, the Pixel 7a is covered in plastic. The Pixel 7 Pro rocks the more premium Gorilla Glass Victus. It's sort of tough to feel any difference though. Both phones actually have an aluminum frame. The Pixel 7 Pro's is just polished. Aside from that, the overall design is identical. Very similar funky camera bars, though I guess the one on the Pro is more substantial, it sticks out further, and the mirrored finish certainly hasn't held up well there. But all in all, Google has kept the design language for all their 7 series smartphones exactly the same. And just taking a quick look around at everything else, both phones have the same SIM card slot on the left side there, SIM only, no SD card support on either one. Now the Pixel 7a is only available in 128 gigs of storage. The 7 Pro can be spec'd up to 256 or 512 gigs if you want, and they both support multiple SIMs via eSIM. On the right side, the same power and volume buttons. Towards the bottom, identical USB-C ports in the center, flanked by speaker and microphone cutouts on either side. Similar center hole punch selfie cameras and secondary speakers up front, and around back, different camera setups obviously, that I'll talk more about in a bit. Underneath the displays, both phones have what I believe is the same optical fingerprint sensor. I don't notice any difference in unlocking speeds or accuracy at least. They're far better than previous Pixel phones for sure, and they both have Face Unlock for a secondary unlocking option. So I know I already mentioned that the Pixel 7 Pro has the bigger display, but it also has the better display spec-wise across the board, and I think this is one of the first major considerations in opting for the Pixel 7 Pro. The 6.1-inch screen screen on the 7A is a very solid 2400 by 1080 resolution OLED panel that for the price looks perfectly fine. But the Pixel 7 Pro's 6.7-inch display is an LTPO AMOLED QHD panel, 3120 by 1440 resolution. It's bolder, it's more colorful, and it's significantly brighter too, especially outdoors, with its auto brightness peaking at some 1500 nits. The Pixel 7a is quite dim, to be honest, and on top of that, the Pixel 7a offers just a 90Hz refresh rate, while the Pixel 7 Pro is a 120Hz refresh rate screen. Every single screen spec on the Pixel 7 Pro is better. From the higher resolution and greater pixel density, to the better OLED panel, to the higher refresh rate, and especially the brightness. It might be a little tough to see on camera, but in person, the difference is fairly obvious. And to me, those are all great reasons to consider the Pro if screen quality and the overall viewing experience is what's most important to you. Like I said, there's really nothing inherently wrong with the screen on the 7A. It's a perfectly fine mid-tier spec, and a vast majority of people will think it's perfectly fine too. But the Pixel 7 Pro has a better display than even Samsung's S23 flagship, and it's a higher resolution display than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So it might just be one of the best displays on any smartphone. And that's one of the big things you end up getting for all that extra money with the Pixel 7 Pro, and I do think that's a pretty big perk for that phone, even for the price. With your out loud listening experience, I don't believe there's a different speaker setup here. Both phones have the primary one at the bottom and secondary one in the earpiece for a dual stereo sound setup. And going back and forth between the two, I don't hear a difference in sound quality or clarity, but here's a sample from each so you can decide for yourself. Now, one of the big reasons why Google's Pixel A devices are always pegged as such a good value is because they're powered by the flagship processors inside. This mid-tier phone gets what the flagship phones have. However, it's not a perfect one-to-one comparison. The Pixel 7a is powered by Google's own top-of-the-line Tensor G2, the same chipset inside the Pixel 7 Pro. But my Pixel 7 Pro has 12 gigs of RAM. The 7a can't be spec'd higher than 8 gigs. And interestingly enough, when we look at the latest Geekbench scores, the Pixel 7 Pro is clocking in higher, particularly with the multi-core score. That likely means the same processor inside both phones is configured slightly differently, or that some components might vary a little bit. After all, the Pixel 7a can't really be as powerful as the 7 Pro, at least not on paper. In the real world though, I actually think you'll find that the difference in performance is nearly non-existent. Both these phones get the full-fledged Google software experience, multiple years of updates, all the latest features, and they are, in my opinion, the best Android devices just for overall performance, as they should be. They're Google's own phones after all. And unless you're really pushing your smartphone hard day in and day out, or you do something that requires all 12 gigs of RAM on the Pro, there's really and truly no difference in how these phones perform. And I don't think this should come as a surprise. Yeah, it might have been nice to have the Pixel 7 Pro be some measure faster or better, but with any smartphone nowadays, it's hard to tell the difference in speed year over year or from one device to another. And with the Pixel 7a, one of the ways in which Google makes up for maybe missing other features with this phone is by giving it a flagship processor. It's only fair anyway. The Tensor G2 chip is already halfway through its life cycle, so Pixel 7 Pro owners shouldn't feel too bad. All in all, if performance is what you're after, the Pixel 7a gives you everything the $900 Pixel 7 Pro does, pretty much, and that surely makes it just a really great value. When it comes to battery life and charging speeds, the Pixel 7 Pro has quite a few advantages here. With the size, the bigger Pixel Pro has a 5,000 mAh battery inside. The 7a tops out at 4385. The Pro can also charge faster. It supports 23 watt wired speeds and 23 watt wireless charging. The 7a juices up at 18 watts wired and 7.5 watts wireless. The Pro also has that reverse wireless charging feature to charge other devices. The 7a does not. And as far as longevity, while it is true that the 7 Pro's bigger, brighter, higher resolution and higher refresh rate display does suck the life out of it a bit more, generally speaking, you can still expect the Pro to last a little longer during the day. And especially when the screen specs are equal, in some instances by a couple of hours. Your mileage may vary here though, depending on how you use your phone, but I've personally found that the Pixel 7 Pro's power features across the board, paired with that bigger battery, give it all of the advantages. Last but not least, when it comes to the camera capabilities, while it is true that the Pixel 7 Pro is going to offer a bit more, the real-world difference may not actually be as significant as you think. So hardware-wise, the Pixel 7a gets an all-new 64-megapixel main lens this year, paired to a 13-megapixel 120-degree ultra-wide and a 13-megapixel selfie shooter. The Pixel 7 Pro has a 50-megapixel main lens, 48-megapixel telephoto lens, and a slightly wider 126-degree 12-megapixel ultra-wide, paired to a 10.8-megapixel selfie camera up front. Now, right off the bat, the Pixel 7 Pro's extra telephoto lens unlocks a number of features, including far better zoom capabilities and portrait pics utilizing the lens, not just software. There's also a couple more shooting modes found on the Pro, like action pan and the cinematic mode and macro shooting for up-close pics, again using the extra lens. But honestly, the bulk of the camera experiences on both phones is pretty much identical beyond that. While some mid-tier A-series phones get mid-tier camera setups that very obviously fall short of their flagship counterparts, the Pixel 7a gets a near flagship camera setup inside and out, and with some side-by-side comparison shots here, I think it's pretty tough to tell a difference. I think you can make some general claims like the Pixel 7 Pro to me looks a bit more colorful, more pleasing to the eye, less dull, and certainly captures more detail in most instances when you look really closely. But it's not always a clear-cut winner, and every once in a while, the 7a will randomly snap what looks to be like a better shot. Nick Gray over at Fandroid just dropped an incredibly comprehensive, 10-minute camera comparison video between the 7a and 7 Pro, so definitely check that out if you want to go more in depth. But he drew a similar conclusion. These two phones are surprisingly similar with their camera capabilities. A lot of that, I'm sure, has to do with Google's software and image processing likely being the same on both phones, but it just goes to show how great the Pixel 7a really is. This phone cut no corners with its camera capabilities. So all in all, if you're picking a Pixel device, the choice between the regular Pixel 7 and Pixel 7a, I think, is sort of irrelevant. Go with either one, base your decision on price, it doesn't matter. But in jumping up to the Pixel 7 Pro, you're really getting that higher quality display, better charging and power features, extra camera lens, and I guess a premium glass back. Does all that stuff justify spending many hundreds of dollars more? I'm not so sure about that. I think the Amazon Renewed options are pretty good, and I think it is one of the best phones out there, but the Pixel 7a is just a really good value as it is. It's nearly half the price, but you get so much of what the Pro already has. What do you guys think? Which phone would you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.